What's up guys, this is the Gravel World Championship in Belgium, my biggest gravel race of the year and my second chance of becoming a world champion. The gravel rules have been controversial. Where was all the gravel at? From TV it actually looked more like a road race. Let me show what it was really like. With a fast, mostly flat 180-kilometer course and short, punchy climbs, my expectations were high. But I had to fight through the chaos and overtake over 600 riders to even have a chance of reaching my goal to win.
180k. I had cramps after 120.
Flashback. Alright, so my bike is ready. I have been doubting a little bit about my tire choice. Seeing the recons of other riders, it seems to be a lot of tarmac and really fast, smooth gravel. Expectations of the race, I don't know man. I've not been training as much as I wanted to. Baby Julia is only 7 weeks old right now. This summer I've been super busy constructing stuff to make an extra room. So this wall in my office actually wasn't there. I still have my indoor trainer space, but now there's a wall in between with an extra door. And then this is the baby room. If I'm gonna last for 180k, I don't know, because it's gonna be a slaughter fest. It's gonna be last man standing. I think it's gonna go really fast, really hard race. After 3.5-4 hours, I think I'm toast, but we're gonna see. I've not been doing like vlog videos, so I feel like I haven't been able to show you guys a bit more ins and outs of what's been going on in my life. But I've got this thing and it's gonna go on that wall right there, and then I want to do like a jersey in a frame and some race numbers over there. Sunday morning, me and Dan, my friend, are gonna drive to Belgium to the race because I'm at home with the kids. Need to help out a bit with the baby, so I'm not gonna go there like a lot of riders are doing. They're doing recons of their course and everything, and I just wish me luck. First challenge of the day was simply getting there on time, arriving at 9:53, just 2 hours and 14 minutes before the actual start. Unfortunately, loads of guys were already camping in the start box like they were lining up for the new iPhone.
BBC's Leslie Medine live from Valley Plaza, where dozens of people have been camping out since yesterday. Is that right, Leslie?
Take a look at this line right now.
So here's the deal. 300 elite riders start at 12 o'clock sharp, followed by the age groups. In the 1934 category alone, there were over 500 riders. And then my group, the old guys, the 35-39 category with 250 riders. Each category also had a priority box for the riders who had won their qualifier events. Fortunately, my best result was 5th in Valkenburg, so lining up an hour and a half before the start, I still had well over 100 riders in my group ahead of me. It was time to fight through this chaos. With all these riders in front of me, I couldn't see a thing. My biggest priority now was get to the front ASAP. I had maybe about 5 minutes before we start overtaking the slowest riders from the group ahead. And by that time, the 35-39 category would already have exploded into subgroups. At that point, it would be nothing but chaos, no idea who's where or what position I'm in. If you see my World Championship Verkuijl video, you know how messy it can get. Look at this, 40 seconds in and we're trucking along this narrow strip here next to the canal, just dodging these concrete poles and everything. It's a miracle that no one has crashed into the water with the mayhem that's about to unfold. Minutes in and the gaps are opening up. I'm constantly overtaking riders, which is tough, but at least sometimes I can get a little bit of draft. Bridging these gaps is only going to get harder and harder, and I have to be careful not to blow myself up before I reach the front of the race. I'm hugging the inside of every corner because you never know when somebody might dive bomb and take you out.
Look at this. I've already passed so many riders in just 4 minutes, but there's a long, long way to go. Right here we can peek around the corner a little bit on the left over there. You can see the first riders of my group. I can't count them, but at least 50, 60 riders still ahead. So I have to overtake all these guys until I reach the front. And then segments like this. Look at these guys already struggling at the first signs of mud. Sure, it's narrow, but they're zigzagging all over the place, slowing down and trying to avoid the wet spots. What's up, dudes? Imagine being at the front of the race, just sending it at 35 kilometers an hour. It would be so much faster. I just keep overtaking more and more riders, but am I actually getting closer to the leaders, or are they riding away from me? I've got no idea right now. Right here I spot the first rider with a grey number in the orange jersey, somebody from the 1934 age group. It just took 7 minutes to make up 2 minutes of delay. From here, there's no more front of the race, there's no more front of the group. It's just mixed riders ahead and a guessing game about my position. Here we dive into another muddy segment. Now this is the fun bit. As you can see, riders are just struggling all over the place, landing on their backs. Let's quickly talk tires. I'm riding with the Victoria Mescal, which is actually the same tire as I used in Cape Epic, but this is a 44, so it's quite more narrow. It seems like there's a tendency for all the racers to go to slick tires nowadays, and I've been riding the Victoria Tirana Dries, which is pretty much a slick in the middle. But now I did one race on these tires, and it just gives me so much more grip through corners. So I actually really like them, and they're still very fast because the knobbies are very tight together in the middle of the tire. So I really want to use these tires for the race. And also I see a lot of guys still riding like super narrow tires, like 33, 35 millimeters even. Maybe they see the pros do that, but I don't think that's the fastest option. Yes, for the road bits and for the tarmac bits, but I do think you're gonna really feel it on the bumpy stuff. And with 44 millimeters or the 47 that I had before, you just get so much more absorption of all those bumps and more grip uphill, downhill and everything. So I think it's better and faster, but maybe let me know in the comments what you think, if it's better to ride narrow or wide. Back to the race, where most riders were on narrow slicks, but lacking the skills of Mathieu van der Poel and all hugging the sides here. I'm just waiting for a gap to go through. Fairly easy, I go through the middle and I overtake handsful of riders. Before I get stuck in this rut behind the next guy. Luckily, I can escape and keep going hard here. The first lap and this segment wasn't broadcasted well on TV, so I get it. You see Marianne Vos, Mathieu van der Poel, they're winning on Eurosport, and they're on narrow slick tires, and you think this isn't a gravel race, it's mostly pavement. Slicks would be the best choice. And yes, there's been quite some discussion about the gravel worthiness of this race, and every couch potato seemed to have a harder gravel section in his backyard. But guys, to me, gravel is whatever off-road you get wherever you are. This doesn't have to be some heroic terrain with big rocks or peanut butter mud. Fuck that, leave that shit for inbound, man. There's more to this world than chunky American rocks. This race was actually much harder than it looks on TV or YouTube, where there's plenty of rocky sections, but also, I won't deny it, a lot of tarmac, a lot of cobbles and rough pavement. And let's not forget we're in Belgium, where even the tarmac feels like off-road. And at high speeds and with these short punchy climbs and 180 kilometers in total, this race turned into an absolute sufferfest. And I had many moments where I actually was much faster than the others, either because of my skill level or because I had slightly more knobbies on my tires. Meanwhile, others were riding slicks and wiping out all over the place whenever they would hit a wet patch. Here I'm closing in with two Dutch riders, Erik van der Meent and Pim Hakman, both in orange. I know Pim is fast. I've raced with him before, also in Valkenburg, where he got top 5 placement. And just judging by the crazy amount of riders that I've already passed, I must be getting closer to the front, right? 15 minutes in, only like 10 kilometers in this race, I see nothing but gray numbers. Is this good or is this bad? There's no one of my category in front of me. So did I reach the front already? I mean, I highly doubt it. I think there's a couple guys that are just took off and they're well in front of us. So we just need to keep on going as hard as we can. So while I'm editing these videos, I have a lot of time to analyze my races and to see what's actually going on. I look at the results in the starting lists, and right now there's one guy riding right next to me who started in the priority box, the 1382 rider. It's a French rider. During the race, I had no idea actually who any of these guys were. But now I do. We've got the Dutch rider 1541 here, Koos Jeroen Kers. He actually ended up third in today's race. So maybe we are really getting close to the front as we finish the first local loop, riding into the city of Halle again. Racing through the city, it was pretty fun. It was almost like a crit racing. Now entering the canal section, heading towards Leuven, towards this transition to the finish. Huge gaps ahead. And I chat with another Dutch rider who tells me we're racing for 5th place. Wait, what? I was super stoked. But I also knew it was gonna be a brutal day as we're just 23 minutes in this race. On this little descent, all of a sudden, everything comes to a halt because of this little tiny gate going into this park. And situations like this are why you always have to keep pushing forward. A few guys of my category slipped through before me, so now I have another gap to close to them when I get through this shit. In my opinion, these bottlenecks should be avoided just as much as possible in these races, but I also understand that it's quite impossible in the area where we are riding. Super narrow trail here. It's almost like a single track, so at this moment I can't overtake, but I'm waiting for the moment. So this is a section that we haven't seen before. This race was 180 kilometers, which is quite long for an amateur gravel event. In comparison, the Grand Fonda World Championship was only 150k, and that was on the road. We just finished that local loop, and now we're on the transition to Leuven, where we had to do 2 finishing loops of 45k each before the finish. Along the way, there would be some spectator and feed zones, which I'll get back to later. Most of this transition between Halle and Leuven is on little trails like this. They're pretty smooth, and there would be some climbs and some descents. We're now 15 minutes after we crossed that little gate. And I'm finally catching back with those guys that I lost at that gate. Last year, racing the 1934 category, I never had this issue where you lose track of riders ahead. The race had a more normal race dynamics where you can ride in the pack, battle each other, attack, coast, whatever. But this seems more almost like an individual time trial, just who can go from start to finish by its own the fastest. Honestly, this is one of the downsides of racing in the age group system. Sure, I could ride in the elite and avoid the whole chaos of the mixed groups, but I've got kids, full-time job, I've got this YouTube channel, I can't train for 20 hours a week to keep up with the pros, and I still love battling for the win against guys who have a more similar lifestyle like me. That said, I really think the UCI needs to improve on this. They're making this whole thing bigger and bigger, but it takes down the quality of racing. Maybe they should tighten the qualification requirements and allow fewer entries. For fuck's sake, this is the World Championship we're talking about. And how about a better starting order? Just rank riders based on their qualifier results instead of first come, first serve. Right now, it feels more like a start position World Championship than a proper race, and I'm just chasing the guys that start in front of me. We're now 30 kilometers in, almost an hour of racing. How many riders do you think I've overtaken? I felt like an automatic machine gun, just surging past rider after rider. Barely catching my breath before I had the next gap to close. We're 50k in, 130k to go, and my legs are already protesting. I could feel the first twitches of cramps. This is not good. I mean, I was finally near the front, and now I'm already about to blow up. Well, we're freaking only just started this race. I don't know if I can keep up for at least another 3 hours. Here's another guy, Belgium dude, who asked me if there's anyone up the road from our category. I told him I have no idea because I missed out on that. So I'm not the only one who is struggling with the same issue. Some guys may have their guys along the sidelines that are telling them some info when they pass by, but most of us didn't really know how many riders were up the road. So as we approach through the second feed zone, let's talk about nutrition strategy, because fueling was going to be key. I'm using the Eat My Right app, and I created my best case scenario nutrition plan based on the similar normalized power output from my test race 2 weeks earlier. But this race was much longer, so 350 watts normalized for 5 hours. Now that would be a golden performance for me. I was already carb loaded going into this race, but avoiding to be running into serious glycogen depletion, I still needed 100 grams of carbs per hour. I was aiming at 105 to 110, which would still get me into the caution zone. But my stomach wouldn't handle much more over such a long time, since I hadn't been training on a higher intake recently. I started with 2 bottles and a ton of gels, and here at the 70k mark, I was due for my first water bottle. But in this crowd, I mean, imagine hundreds of riders, each with their own support crew. I had to find my guy, scanning through the chaos, and I'm looking for a yellow vest. I gave him a yellow vest so I would be able to pick him out. You know, yellow vest, where is this yellow vest? I think I missed him. Crap. Ah! I got it! 2 guys, Niels and Robert, offered to help Dan and me for this race. They met us at the start line and planned to give us bottles at the 70k mark, which I just received, and then twice more in the final 45k loop. Having this kind of support is actually crucial for a successful race. Okay, we're riding into the finishing town of Leuven. Here the route gets tight, narrow bike lanes and a steep climb into the park right before we would hit a big road near the finish. It's really crowded again because we're still mixing in with this massive 1934 age group. So staying focused and keeping track of my own category riders is really, really key here. The crowd along the route, freaking incredible, man. Clearly Belgium is breathing cycling, and the cheers from the sideline really made this event awesome. I take my last sip of water. Right after start finish, there's another feed zone where Niels and Robert will be waiting for me with a bag containing 2 fresh bottles to keep me covered for the local loop. So looking at this footage, indeed, we're cruising at 45k through the city streets like it's a criterium. A lot of this was broadcasted on TV since it's the last few kilometers of the race, and indeed, it does make it look like a road race. But we're about to hit a climb that's going to shake the tree. Just 2 minutes before the finish, this climb hammering up at 800 watts. Just hang on. Right now we're still 2 loops away from the finish, and it gets ridiculously narrow here. And even after 100k of racing, the course is still packed with riders. From here we go through a little park and then on to bigger roads where we will have the really long finish final straight. And if it's in the group at the end, this will be a massive sprint finish that needs to be played well. Now it's time for the next feed. This bike lane crosses over the train station, and just beyond is the feed zone where Niels and Robert should be waiting. Both of them have a bag with 2 bottles each and should be standing well apart. So if I miss one, I would have a second chance to grab what I need. But damn, it's packed again, just like the other feed zone. Hundreds of people here. So many supporters. How am I gonna spot my guys? I'm scanning. Crap, did I miss them? This is the end of the feed zone. Damn, I must have missed them, man.
Hey, ik heb jullie gemist bij het station. Als het lukt, ga daar helemaal aan het eind van die feedzone. Vlak voor dat bruggetje, daar is het rustig. Dan kan ik zo volgende keer een zakje pakken met 2 keer Martin. Doei.
A bit further in the race, we're on the local loop, passing a massive spectator zone here. This section was also in last year's European Championship, so it feels familiar, and the crowd and the energy is just unreal. I've got 3 guys of my category ahead of me, and we managed to break away from that massive mixed up group after the start finish. We still have 80 kilometers to go. Somewhere here I asked another rider for a bottle. He had something left, which helped me survive. In the final local loops, after 3.5 hours of full gas racing, I was completely wasted. My legs started cramping heavily while barely hanging on these short, punchy climbs. But I had finally reached the front group of our age category, and I heard that only 1 rider was up ahead, meaning all of a sudden I had a chance on getting the podium on the World Championship. I saw someone hold up a sign for the 1934 age group saying P24, meaning I had overtaken all of that group except for the first 24, and that's 500 riders plus roughly 150 riders of my own category. Now, this has been a crazy battle. Unfortunately, my camera died, so I missed the final loop. In the last lap, our group split up on the same climb where Mathieu van der Poel attacked Vermeers with 13 kilometers to go. I couldn't stay with the first 5 riders. Now, I did get this shot from that last cobbled climb with only 2 minutes to the finish line, pushing over 700 watts just to smash up these cobbles, and where we dropped half of the group that was still left over. I raced to the line with a few riders, but I kind of messed up my sprint on that long finishing street, and that cost me a few spots.
Just finished. I don't know what position I got, but it's a really fucking hard race. $180k I had cramps after 120. Fucking hell. But I got back pretty well. Let's go check the results.
After overtaking about 600 riders, I finished 9th in my age group at the Gravel World Championship. 9th place! Not the podium, but after overtaking all these riders, I'll take it. And with that, the 2024 season is over, but actually the 2025 season has already started with a win in the Grand Fondo of Dubai. That video is coming soon. See ya!
True amateurs were in the train. Because the logistics of this race is that they start in Halle and they finish in Leuven, which is fucking far away. So we have to go back to the start to get back home because my car is at the start line. So it's gonna be a long day.